about Arsenal. I'm your host Tony, and yesterday was a very sad day for Arsenal fans around the world. Takehiro Tomiyasu, our samurai sensation, officially left the club by mutual consent. And we first heard it early yesterday, and we saw it on the Arsenal website. We first saw it in a couple of news columns. We're not really sure. When Arsenal published information on the website, the official site, then it became clear that Tomiyasu was gone. It's never easy to say goodbye to a player who gave everything for the badge, but today we're just going to look back at Tomiyasu's time at North London. We are going to celebrate the contributions he made to us as a club and reflect on what made him a respectful figure among the supporters. So we'll start with his early beginnings. He started his career at Avispa Fukuoka, I hope I pronounced that well, in Japan, and that was like some 10 years ago. But eventually his talents were discovered and he made his sojourns into Europe. And he came to prominence when he joined Bologna in 2019. In the Italian Serie A, he featured regularly on the right, but as a Swiss Army knife, as we know him to be, he also played as a left back and also played as a centre back. And he was actually an ever-present player for Bologna. In the first season in Bologna in 2019, he played 29 matches in the Serie A, but 30 in all competitions. And the second season in Bologna, he played 31 matches in the Serie A and 33 in all competitions. He had actually played one league game in his third season in Serie A before Arsenal came calling, and that was in 2021. At the time he joined the club, many fans didn't know much about him. No honesty. All we just knew was that he was the fourth Japanese player to join Arsenal after Junichi Inamoto, Takuma Asano, and Ryo Miyachi. So, okay, this is the fourth guy from the Far East joining Arsenal. And the last time we had someone from the Far East join Arsenal was the legendary Park Chu-young, who scored one goal in the Carabao Cup, and that was it for him. But it didn't take long for Arsenal fans to actually see how good Tomiyasu was. He was a dedicated professional. He was a very dependable player. He was a very intelligent player, and he was incredibly versatile. Like Tomiyasu basically was one of those ambipedal players that could feature in any position along the defensive line. While his dominant position was on the right-hand side, there were times when we needed him to play on the left, maybe due to an injury crisis or suspension, and he did it with minimal force. Then of course, there's why he also plays centre back as well. And he's also a fully fledged Japanese international. He played his first season with Japan was in 2018. Yeah, and he was part of the Japanese team that actually reached the finals of the Asian Cup in 2019. But he also played in the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, and of course the 2023 Asian Cup. So let's talk about his performances. Tomiyasu was someone that was very consistent. He will give you that 7 over 10 performance. You can never see a 6 over 10 or 5 over 10 from Tomiyasu. There are times he goes as high as 10 over 10 or 8 over 10, you know what I'm saying? But he was just like Nacho Monreal, pretty much. Always giving us his best, always doing so well on the pitch. And the game that comes to mind, where I remember he was so good, was when Liverpool came to town. I think we won that game 3-2 at the Emirates or so. And Tomiyasu basically pocketed Mo Salah. That was a crazy match. Salah had nowhere to breathe because Tomiyasu was always on him. And the crazy part about all this was that Tomiyasu played that game as a left back to negate the threat that Salah was, giving us that day. He played so many good games for the club. He basically showed no fear when facing any of the best attackers in the Premier League, and he was always ready to fight for the team. He was that guy that would always give you his all, put his body on the line for his teammates. And I think he had a red card against Crystal Palace. I remember that game where he had 2 bookable offenses and the team was in the lurch. But Tomiyasu was someone that always gave his all for the team. You could not see a dull performance from him, and it's something that he'll always be remembered with. However, his injuries were a lot. According to Transfer Market, I always love to check that website when I want to check for some detailed stats about players. If you remember the video I did about Thomas Partey, I was able to verify that he missed 421 days through injuries throughout his time at Arsenal. And when I did the tribute, please check out the video when you have a chance. I'll put it at the end of this one. Tomiyasu missed 2 years worth of potential playing time. In addition to the 690 days he missed due to injury, Tomiyasu missed 101 Arsenal games. That is staggering. Like, I feel so sad for him because the injury setbacks were very unfortunate. I will not forget the one that happened in Sporting CP where he twisted his knee somewhat, and from that moment he hasn't gotten himself back. Yes, he made just one appearance last season as a substitute. It's in the game against Southampton, and in the same game he still got injured. Apparently, I think he did a surgery to correct an issue that he had, but he now got injured again, and that was pretty much it. He had to now go for another corrective surgery, and that was it for the rest of the season. So, in as much as we love Tomiyasu, his injury struggles were so much. Injuries were a cruel part of Tomiyasu's Arsenal story. Every time he seemed to find momentum, there was always a setback. But through it all, he never complained, he never whined, he never came on social media to talk about how he's missing football, blah, blah, blah. All we did was that we always saw him working hard to recover and supporting his teammates from the sideline. 690 days and 101 games, that was a lot. So you could actually understand Arsenal's own predicament in the situation. Tomiyasu wasn't the loudest player. He didn't need to be the loudest player actually. He had this calm presence and a professionalism that inspired everyone around him. Whether it was in victory, whether it was in defeat, he always carried himself with respect. He always carried himself with honor. And as you know, Japanese guys are always known for honor. Looking about my Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that. He also scored 2 goals for Arsenal. One was in the 5-0 win over Sheffield United. Then the last one was actually a very beautiful goal. I think the final game of the 2020-24 season, against Everton, it was a nice cutback that Odegaard gave him, and he smashed it in from there. When we learned that Tomiyasu was going to be released by Arsenal, fans actually went to social media and started sharing messages of gratitude and love for him because, in all honesty, he had earned the respect of his teammates. But obviously, with Tomiyasu going, Arsenal has to find a way to replace him. And I'm guessing that's where a player like Christian Mosquera comes into play. In addition to Tomiyasu being out injured, the other right backs in the team, Jurien Timber and Benjamin White, also had their injury problems as well last season, which means that part of the club, that part of the defensive unit needs to be addressed. Saliba, who was the only player that basically played every game, finally got injured in the final game of the season. And of course, Saliba has had his injury problems. If you remember the 22-23 season where he was very key for us, that injury that he had on his back basically derailed our title challenge. And that was something like a broken record, but it still hurts. If we had Saliba and Gabriel playing together that season, in addition to how well we were doing in attack, I believe we would have won that campaign. But it's just hearsay. So Tomiyasu's departure leaves a big gap at the club, not just in defense, but in character. And we would expect Arsenal to reinforce the squad. But obviously, it's not easy to replace someone like Tomiyasu because if you remember, he played as a left back, he played as a right back, he also played as a centre back. And he's someone that we are going to really miss. On a personal note, I know I will miss Tomiyasu. I will miss his hard work. I'll miss his humility. I'll miss his commitment to the club. I wish him nothing but the best in the next chapter of his career. I actually felt so sad when he was released because if I recall correctly, Mohamed El Neni was facing the same predicament where he suffered a bad knee injury and was about to see his contract expire at the club, but we gave him an extension basically for him to recuperate and rehabilitate with the team before he had his final swan song in his last season, even if he didn't play as much games as he wanted. But at least he was still around with the lads and all that. But Tomiyasu was not afforded this opportunity. Especially with the fact that he still had 2 years left on his contract. It was a 4-year deal with an option to add a 5th. And he was in his 4th season with the club when Arsenal called it quits with him. So, all I can say is that Tomiyasu was a very, very great player for the club. I know that he'll be hugely missed by Arsenal fans, and I know that he will find a good another club when he comes back from his knee injury. I'm guessing from the last time I checked, he's supposed to be back from injury sometime in the tail end of 2025. I'm guessing of October, November, thereabout. And since he's a free agent, he can actually find a new club and join them. So if you're an Arsenal fan, I want to just let me know your favorite memory of Tomiyasu in the comments. If you appreciated this time as much as I did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more Arsenal content.